In this video, I'm going to introduce you to transform rules. Now, in the theme file, you have this visual nodes that spawn objects into the scene. And when you select a visual node, you can specify the offset of the node. So this offset is applied to the object after it is spawned on the scene. And this offset is static. You can also specify this offset from a script. So if you want a more dynamic approach, you can specify a script that defines this offset for you. So this script is defined in the transformation rule. So here's one example where I have these rocks that are populated around the side of the walls, and these objects are all facing the same direction, and they're in the same height, so it doesn't look natural. So what I will do is I will add a transformation rule that randomly rotates this and also brings them a little up and down to add some variations. So I just select this and add this script, and you see that it has created it has added some variations to my object. So this is a very nice way of adding some dynamic functionality to any nodes in your theme graph. So to create a transformation script, you have to subclass from the transform rule object under the Dungeon Architect namespace, and after that, just set the out position, out rotation, and the out scale objects. So if you can leave them to default, and it will not make any change. But if you need some rotation or scale or translation, you can specify them here. So I just take the object and I rotate it randomly along the y-axis, and I also move it a little bit and set it in the out position. Now there's another important feature is if you're using random, if you want some randomness, you have to use the random object that this function provides to you. This is done for consistency, so that you have consistent randomness, so that whenever you build the level, it will guarantee the same result every time you build it. So so this is one example of a transformation rule. Another example is if you can apply something similar like this on other objects as well. If you have a lot of trees, for example, you might want them to be rotated randomly instead of them facing the same direction. And the documentation has more information. If you go to rules, you'll see that we have some examples of transformation rules. And there's another transformation rule for clamping the objects to the terrain. So if you have a dynamic terrain, you can have your objects clamped to the ground. So I'll show you another example here. So you see that if all the trees, although the dungeon height is in this area, the trees have been moved down so that they fit on the terrain height. And this is done by another transform rule. So if I open this up, you see that there's a random, there's a clamp to terrain transformation rule. What it does is it finds the height of the tree. So let me first uncheck and show what happens. See, the trees are spawned within the same height as the dungeon, but we want them to move down on this dynamic terrain. So what I do is I find the height of the terrain at that position, and I just find the offset that is required to make them touch the terrain. And when that happens, you see that they're nicely placed clamped on the terrain.